One of the things that I have learned since starting to get healthy is really learning how to become a good listener. And not just listening with my ears, but listening with my whole being, like a state of consciousness, a state of awareness. And, at the beginning, it was really hard to start listening because I wanted to just start doing. And listening requires like taking a seat back, being patient, waiting, looking around, observing, and not acting right away. Listening is also the way to how I become aware. But how do I become aware? Like that is like a muscle that I have to develop inside of me to learn how to get myself healthy. Like, what are the things that are working? What are the things that I need to change? Like, what is affecting me? Like, all of these signals and all this communication is coming into me. And, in the beginning, it was just like, it was way too much and it was overwhelming. And I didn't manage, I let everything come in. And I didn't have very good gates. Like, I didn't have very good property lines. So too much information was coming in and it was affecting me. Now I can have the information come in and it doesn't totally affect me all the time. So in that way, I've developed some kind of like self-filter or strong internal boundaries that help keep me safe. So awareness isn't like, I find that listening is like awareness. Like if I'm watching a show, what's happening is that I'm seeing something, I'm hearing something, and I'm feeling something from that show. And those are all ways for me to be listening to what's going on. And if I'm clear and I'm on, then a lot of that stuff is going in and I'm receiving it. Like I'm receiving this stuff. What I'm receiving and how I'm filtering it to myself is the job where I can take the good and resonate, and that's going to help me propel forward with my trying to get healthy. Receiving is filling me with good things, good information, and then I'm choosing how to and what to do with that information, with me as a being, with what I know and how that comes back out, right? So am I able to receive information? Am I able to listen? Am I able to listen without taking those feelings on, without feeling like what they said is true? Like becoming a good listener also means I have to develop a really good filter too, and I have to actively listen. Like I have to want to know what's going on or what the reality is. And I have to turn my awareness up. And my awareness is up all the time. But I also have to be careful that I'm not too into my hypervigilance. So it's a balancing act. And it's a very internal job. So having awareness gets me through like how am I feeling, what changes do I need to make, how am I going to fix my life? Like I need to be turning on and looking out to be able to change my life. But if I'm all closed off, if I'm not asking, I'm not looking, I'm not confirming, I'm not verifying, then I'm just willfully ignorant. Like I can just stay in my ignorance and basically just choose to be a victim. Choose that, oh, I didn't see, oh, I don't know. Meaning I have no will of my own to use. But awareness is a choice to be looking. People are becoming more aware. People are aware out there. This is a possible thing that happens. But this act of listening and choosing to be awakened, like it's a choice for me to be awakened or not. I have to go out there and I have to look. I have to seek. I have to want to be healthy. And that means I need to get out of my own ignorance. That means I need to bonk myself on the head. Like that means I got to look at things that I don't want to look at. And if I'm wrong about something and I'm in the wrong, or I have a yucky feeling that I don't like, I have to investigate what's going on there. I cannot ignore it. It doesn't go away. It is still there. Like, that's the big myth, is that I'm thinking if I don't look at it, it's not there. Like, if you can't see me, I can't see you. Like, that's willful ignorance. So trying to get healthy really means choosing to be super awake, asking questions, getting information, getting all my senses on. Like, there's a lot of information out there. And being aware is, if I'm a really good listener, and that basically being really aware is another form of me listening and being open and able to receive. Like, what is listening, right? It's something out there coming in. That's like the same as receiving. So what am I receiving? What's coming in? Like, what are those signals? And how am I holding that? Like, now that I have that information, like, how am I holding it? Where is it going? I can use that to my advantage, or I can use that to my destruction. Like, I want to use the information properly. I want it to come in properly and make sense to me. So I have to develop handling that kind of information, observing it, not taking it personally, not overanalyzing it, like, shaking it through the rock shaker and like really, putting the pieces together, like, for how it's going to work for me. So I heard, when I first was going into the rooms, lots of talk about awareness, and the more aware I can be, the faster and smarter I'm going to be to figuring out how to get healthy, how to be in safer situations, like how to find trustworthy people, like how to find like-minded folks and individuals is me becoming, quieter and listening more, and not just listening with my ears, but like listening and receiving information as a whole consciously aware person, right? And like acknowledging that I don't just hear things. Like, I feel things, I see things, I smell things, I sense things. And then, my body is picking up signals all day long, right? And then so I'm actually trying to turn my inside part of me on. And when I was drinking, or I was, when I was all fogged out, see, like, I'm not able to pick up on that information very good out there. I'm not able to pick up the information on myself. Like, if I'm hungover every day, I'm going to be focused on my physical state, and my mental state's not going to be very good either. Everything's off. So how am I really operating in the world when I'm just jamming up all my signals because I'm not in a position to receive correct information properly? And I don't even have the capacity to hold that information when I'm in those states, those states that affect me negatively. So when I start getting healthy and I start stripping away all the things that mess up those frequencies, mess up those signals, when I start taking those away, like, I start to understand information better. I start to vouch for myself better. I start to create an inventory of what's going on with me. And I'm like making my own ladder to get out of a hole. And I've made the ladder, and I'm going up the ladder. I'm getting out of the hole. So, to get healthy is like really getting awake, like really turning my brain on, my feelings, my gut, like starting to listen to my gut more, and all those intuitive signals that are out there that are happening and that are available for me if I want to tune in. And the more that I've been working through this stuff, it's insane how much, like, there's so much more information going on there. And when I think about, like, when I was in like active addiction, or just after, like, even when I wasn't emotionally sober, when I was back there, like I was missing a lot of information. Like by not being clear, I wasn't picking up on too much. Like I was only picking up on stuff that was right in my face. Like, on stuff that was like the damage was already happened. Like I just, I'm looking at all the pieces on the ground. Like I got sick of getting to that place to be waking up and seeing my problems. And I started to try to get ahead of things. I started to look more, observe more, research, and listening to myself and my inside stuff. And then really like talking to people about that stuff too. Like all these things turned on my awareness, and there's multiple pieces to my awareness. And when I'm lit up, I'm able to receive like so much more information. And then I get to use that information to my own advantage for my life. And then when I'm able to do that, I'm functioning better. And then I just have this ability to give more, and there's so much joy in giving. So it's like doing that hard thing has such a good results. And so I really appreciate that. If I'm going to just keep continuing to like reject relevant information, look at stuff and then I don't want to see it that way. Like if I've got a foggy mind, I'm just wasting my own time. Like and why am I doing that? Because I'm scared of something, because I'm still trying to protect myself from something. But if I'm getting, better and clear and I'm getting free of addictions, I don't need to stay safe like that anymore if there isn't anything unsafe happening around me. And that's the thing with like growing up and then having survival mechanisms that I don't need anymore. Like I got to notice, like, why am I hiding when I don't need to hide anymore? And why do I not want to look? And why am I not asking and confirming what's going on? Like I need to change things around. I need to be affirming my reality, and I need to be doing that with other people. I need to be doing that with my higher power, and I need to be doing that with myself. So I've got to just admit too that like if I'm doing that, I might be trying to protect myself, but why? That's just going to create more damage. And so really like trying to take those walls down and trying to look, even though it's so scary, like actively, like I'm going to look, like actively starting to make that a habit that I'm going to be okay if I look. I'm going to make it if I look. That if I do look, it's going to give me some healing. I have to start doing the thing I don't want to do to get better. And I have to start small and then just keep trying it again and try it again. And when I only use my willpower, I'm probably going to fail. Like I have to get higher power. I have to get into a program. I have to get people, like I have to be a part of a network, because my willpower is going to run out and I'm going to get scared. I'm going to go back in my shell. So in order for me to like get that life that I want, I need to start digging deep and looking at the ugly stuff. I need to start becoming aware. I have to actively turn those rocks over and peel those layers back. And it's really scary, but it's really worth it. Like I always say that, but it's so worth it to be out in the open, to be living honestly, because once you go through that fear barrier, it doesn't take all that effort to be honest anymore, but it takes an effort to start being honest. It takes a lot of courage to do that, but it's not as bad as you think. Like it's like burns for a while. It stings. It's uncomfortable, but then it's over. Like it's like going through a firewall, but I'm not staying on fire forever. Like it's just part of that process of like making the change, like building a new muscle. You're going to feel the burn. Well, like changing a behavior and starting to become more aware and starting to wake up, like there's a burn to that. Like I feel that burn, and then I acknowledge it, and then it's like, okay, but it's going to be over, and I get through it. Like, the point of all this work is that I'm going to be a free person on the other side. I'm going to get to know myself. I'm going to be able to have healthy, loving relationships one day. I'm going to be free of addiction, free of alcohol. Like, if I get through this burn, I'm going to have the life I want. I deserve the life I want. But I'm not going to be able to do it without going through that firewall, without experiencing that afterburn of making changes, and a lot of effort takes that kind of, feeling that burn. So the awareness is such a huge part of recovery, and like actively, consistently turning my brain on, turning my gut on, like all these things that I just did closed off for years and years, and like buried it and threw the key away and burned the map, like all those like self-defeating behaviors that kept me sick, kept me closed off, kept me disconnected. Like I'm changing all that. So I need to dig all that up and like become awake. And becoming awake is like listening with my whole conscious awareness. And when I am connected and I'm spiritual and I'm listening and I'm safe and I'm spiritually sound and all these things, like, I'm opening up those passages, and then I'm receiving information, like a lot of information, and that information like really helps me out. But this is internal information. This isn't just logic and knowledge. This is like awakening my insides to now help me operate how to operate in this world, in this physical world, instead of trying to control my physical world. It's like when I really turn on my internal world, then my physical world will just eventually fall into place around me. But it's an internal chaos when I only focus on that outer part of the world, because I don't actually address the internal world. And eventually that's just going to blow up one day anyway. But the thing is that I get to have the gifts in the life if I want it, but I got to do that work to go for it. So there's just so much. One of the greatest tools, I think, is listening and becoming like consciously aware, like all lit up, all turned on. I'm focused, I'm clear, and can receive that info. Like, but I got to get clear, and I got to get my priorities straight. I got to get boundaries. I got to have connection. Like, and then I can receive so much info and gifts, and I can navigate, like I can open up myself to those tools, and I can be available to use them to however I'm supposed to be using them for my life. And like, however my higher power wants me, wherever he wants me to go. And when I'm connected with my higher power, like I can hear those signals better. I can hear those messages. I'm not using all my own effort to make every single move and step. I'm getting assisted because I'm now able to receive. I'm able to listen. And I'm not just listening with one sense. I'm listening with all my senses. Like this whole being of me is hearing everything and feeling everything and is listening, right? There's more to me than just what comes in one way. Like I can receive and listen in multiple ways if I basically turn the whole machine on, and I just start turning it on, working at it, and like it's all there ready to be used properly. And so like this is just some stuff I've picked up in recovery, and just like how listening is such a huge tool. And it's listen, like going to the rooms, like, or counseling rooms, like whatever, like really talking about my stuff and acknowledging it and getting honest all the time, like that helps me listen to what's going on with me. So and listening to what's going on with other people, and like listening to what my higher power wants, listening to, stuff that I'm resonating with out in the world. Like when I am listening to good stuff and around other good, healthy people that are focused and going towards good, healthy things, seeing what they're doing and like picking up on that information, like, taking that information and using it to my advantage. But I can't be ignorant anymore. I can't sit there. I can't not look. And then, I got to start looking. I got to start asking. And that's how I become awake. And that is, listening is just happens in more ways than one. It happens in more ways than one. So thanks.